Hey, I'm Mike Luchin, and I'm here for a quick camp update. I guess it's not really a camp update anymore, but sort of a roster cutdown update here for Monday. The preseason just ended. So we've got three big stories that have already broken today. Again, cutdown day is tomorrow, Tuesday, by 4 p.m. Eastern. But we just learned minutes ago that Joe Mixon is not going to be activated from the PUP list before the season starts. The deadline is actually tomorrow at 4 p.m. And that's big news. Okay, so there have been people a lot more bearish on Mixon than I've been. I've been saying that he's still sort of worth a shot in that later, like sort of 9, 10 round range. Okay, about where you start picking your handcuff running backs. Okay, I had him in the 10th round. And honestly, after hearing this news, I'm going to bump him down just a little bit more than that to the 11th or 12th round. I would not blame anyone for just not drafting Joe Mixon at all. Okay, in my FFPC leagues that I've been reviewing, we have 12-week regular seasons. It's really hard to know that he's not going to be back for the first 4 weeks there, and then you've only got 8 weeks left. But if you're in a regular league where you've got a little bit of a longer regular season, I think he still makes a little bit of sense in that like 12th round range. But that's a big story. And in all sincerity, if you're moving him down to the 12th round, you're probably just saying let somebody else draft him, which is what you should do, unless he's falling to the point where, if you're picking between him and, like, I don't know, Taj Brooks or someone like that, I'd still take a shot that maybe Mixon will come back in October over, having to hang on to Brooks and hope that there's some sort of an injury with Chase Brown. Okay, so that's a big storyline. The other big story was Terry McLaurin got his contract extension. Nothing to see here. If you've been listening to me, I mentioned that we expected that to happen, right? Players have no leverage in the NFL. So he's under contract. We knew he'd probably get a little bit more than what Washington was offering him, but we knew he wasn't going to be traded, right? We knew that, there wasn't going to be some kind of major deal here. We knew that Washington had to save face a little bit, just because their window to win a Super Bowl is now wide open with a second-year quarterback still on his rookie contract. So McLaurin gets a new deal. This is pretty much played out exactly like you would expect it to play out. So he's back, and you can continue to draft him where you have been drafting him, which is probably the sweet spot's right about the beginning to middle of the 5th round. Again, this is a non-factor. I completely expected that to be the resolution. All right, and finally, Jakobi Meyers, the Las Vegas Raiders' top receiver, has requested a trade. And again, here I go back to the players not having any leverage. Here's the situation there. He wants to be paid because he's had 2 very good seasons in Vegas. This is the last year of his deal. Look at this from the Raiders' perspective. I've mentioned this a couple times when I talked about Ashton Genty. Hey, they're not going to come out and publicly say, hey, our window to win the Super Bowl isn't open yet. They're also, of course they're trying to win. They're not trying to lose. But Jakobi Meyers turns 30 in November. This is the last year of his deal. If you're the Las Vegas Raiders, and let's just say it's not a hot take to say that their window to win a Super Bowl is not yet open this year. Do you want to pay big money to a receiver who is going to turn 31 years old during the first year of that contract? And I think the answer to that is a clear no. Right? I think if you read the tea leaves, that's why they drafted Jack Besh in the 2nd round. Okay? Not necessarily for right now, but to eventually replace Jakobi Meyers. For the Raiders, if he plays well this year and he leaves after this season, you're probably looking at maybe a 4th round compensation pick the year after, right? Receivers, the market for them in free agency has been outrageous for the last few years. So you can bet that a team that's much closer to winning a championship would give Jakobi Meyers a pretty significant, I'd say at least 2-year commitment. And when I say 2 years, I mean 2 years of guaranteed money. So I don't expect anything to change with Jakobi Meyers. Will he be traded? No. Might he be traded later in the year? Well, I can paint you a picture where the Raiders are not very good and it's Halloween and the trade deadline is sneaking up, and then they trade Jakobi Meyers because they're out of it and he's a free agent at the end of the year. However, short of that, don't expect anything here, okay? Don't expect to read that Jakobi Meyers is traded within the next week or 2 or 3. I can't even imagine that happening. I don't think it will. So you can continue drafting him and that 7th round range. I actually have him at the very end of the 6th round. But truthfully, you could probably get him somewhere in the 7th round. And he's a good value there. He's playing for his next contract. He should be very motivated. And it's Bowers and Meyers in that passing game yet again. All right, so that's our quick update for today. I will be back if any news breaks, and I still have a lot more to do before the season starts. Okay, we're going to go over some more FFPC draft reviews. If you haven't checked it out, Walt actually has a great review from he had a redraft league over on myfantasyleague.com. It's a great platform. So he reviewed that yesterday. Check that out. He and I differ on the opinions of a lot of players. So, go check out his takes on, a couple of the players that, I've been talking about. So, all right, that is our update for today. And I'll be back as soon as more news breaks.